All right, art students, I'm going to show you how to set up for the painting boot camp. What you're going to need for this is 3 sheets of thicker white paper. Those of you that got the sketchbook from the materials list, that's perfect. I want you to pull them out of the sketchbook and take the little fringe off the side. If you got a kit from me, then you should use the loose, thicker papers that I provided. Next, you're going to need a ruler. A pencil is optional. I think you should actually just go straight into Sharpie. I did pencil just to make this video a little bit shorter, so I have kind of a template to work on. But really, just these things is what you need. For this circle here, I used a plate to trace. So if you have something about this size that you could trace, I would do so. Otherwise, you could just kind of try to freehand a circle, but you need to fit leave some space at the bottom. So don't put your circle like in the middle of the paper. Make sure it's up here, okay? So let's get started with day 1. This day is going to be color mixing and color theory with acrylic paint. First thing you need to do is draw a little line at the top. And I want you to write day 1. You're going to use acrylic paint, not the watercolors. And just write your name. So whatever your name is. Okay, so this is the first day. And you could also put, if you want, color mixing. I kind of didn't fit it in, but just so you know what you're doing here. Okay, so first thing is to trace the circle. This is where we're gonna do some mixing of colors. Hopefully I'm not getting Sharpie on my, oh, look at this. Maybe don't use a nice plate like I did. Now I'm gonna have to try to wash that off. Okay, so I've got my circle. You need 6 spaces for color mixing. You guys are gonna be doing primary and secondary colors. Doesn't have to be perfect, I'm not that worried about it, but draw a line about in the middle, and then you're gonna make an X. Again, we're trying to make them even, but if it's not even, no big deal. Okay. All right. Once you have that, I want you to write in this order: red, orange, yellow, green, try to make it so you can read it, blue, and then purple. That'll help you with color mixing. So you're going to use some of these colors right out of your tube, but you got to mix the secondary colors. Next are these lines. Now, you're going to do kind of a group of tints and shades here, and I'll give you more details, of course, when we actually do the color mixing video. What I did here was just trace my ruler. So you have the thickness of the ruler. This next series below, let me move my paper up. These are going to be shades. Okay, so you want to write here tint and here shade. All right, and to get the little lines in the middle, there's about 7 of them. I actually just, it's almost like doing a value scale. You guys are familiar with that. I just made the thickness of my ruler, and it gives you 7 different spaces. So you can do that all the way across. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just an organization paper to use when you are color mixing. So this isn't like, you know, a final, original, beautiful art piece. It should be clear, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, let's talk about day 2. That one is done. Day 2 is watercolor. So the first thing that you're gonna do is write day 2 watercolor and your name. Okay. Draw a line at the top to kind of separate that space. Now for this, I want you to draw some horizontal lines. You need 2 of them, which is going to give you kind of 3 sections here. 1 section here, 2, 3, and then just a line down the middle. Now don't go all the way down. That last section is actually going to stay like that. All right, so with that, you're going to write wet on dry, taping, wet on wet, blotting, and then here you're going to write oil resist. For this one, you're going to want either a crayon, an oil pastel, pick light colors like white, yellows work really good. Also just a candle actually works. So we're just going to use wax here, the oil from the wax to create, or just to show you an oil resist technique. All right. So the last day that you need to have ready is day 3. You're going to write acrylic. Going back to acrylic paints. Draw your line at the top. I would write your name again. In the art room, it's really important because people lose their papers, but maybe virtually it's not as big of a deal. But it's always a good practice. All right, for this one, you only need to make 2 lines. Okay, you're going to write at the top, in the top space, wet on dry. It's a little different with acrylic paint. Here, you're going to write gradient / blending. Right above, so this is a little different here. Before you get into the next space, I want you to write splatter. I'm going to have us splatter on top of our gradient and blending spot. And then the last box here is a wash. All right. So what I really, really want before we start our painting boot camp is that you come to Zoom when we're starting and all 3 days have been filled out. So you don't have to worry about trying to do it while we should be painting. All right, get started.